All right, we're gonna do a 3-hole oil change on my 2020 Rogue Glide Limited. We're doing all 3 holes. This is the first oil change I've done on this bike since I've gotten it. We're gonna see how this works out. We're gonna hold off on jacking it. Should be able to get it drained without jacking it up first. Alright, so we are going to use our 5/8 to loosen this up. Start them out. Oil should be pretty warm. So what I'm going to do is actually grab some gloves real quick out of my car. That's nice gloves to work with. Use them for work golf. So we're doing the whole 3 oil change, 3 holes. Right now, I'm about to pull the oil plug out. We're gonna inspect it, see if there's any debris still on there. If there is, give it a good clean. Change out the oil rings. The kit I bought came with all the O-ring replacements that you need, the derby cover gasket, along with the O-rings for the nuts themselves. All right. Ooh, that's dark one. So, right now I'm looking at my O-ring inspector. I don't have any kind of fillings on the top, so that's good. Go ahead and pull the dipstick out as well, let the airflow push through the oil. And we'll visually inspect the dipstick, see if there's any metallic shavings on there as well. So, what I got here is a Figurati dipstick from Figurati's. Comes with little magnets, so you can actually see if there's debris on the magnet. And mine was good. I had no shavings on there. The O-ring is still in great shape. No need to replace that. So, great buy. Let you know if you got metal shavings in your bike. So, highly recommend. So I'm also we'll plug in primary. That oil is actually looking pretty darn good still. Looks like just the engine oil. Same as with the engine oil. Inspect your O-ring plugs. So you got any shavings. It's like there's very minuscule amounts of metal shavings on here. Clean it off with the O-ring. I'm going to go ahead and replace this O-ring because there's frayedness on the O-ring. So definitely replace this one. And generally I just replace all of them. It's the most simplest way to do it. You just replace it every time. They're not that expensive to come in a kit anyway, so you might as well. But again, same as with my oil, I have to figure out a dipstick that collects any kind of metal shavings with a powerful magnet. Not really any metal shavings on there to speak of. It's pretty clean. So bike still, it's only 2020, I had less than 7,000 miles on it when I purchased it, so it's still pretty intact. Yeah, Figurati, great buy. Speaking of Figurati, also for my oil change. On my oil change, I will be installing magnetic oil filter from Figurati, so it's a reusable oil filter. Comes with extra gaskets for when you do your oil changes. So you see, it has an interior filter that you can actually pull out and clean, so you can reuse it. You don't have to sit there and buy a new one. And then the pattern design on here actually is made to allow air to go on there, go through and cool that oil down even more to help keep your oil temperature down. Keep everything kind of off the ground. I know I just pulled it out of the box, but they're safe and sorry. So, I actually got a little kit. Comes with everything you need for oil change for all three oils. So, along with extra. You can never beat out having enough of these gaskets for your oil. Like, you can't beat it. So, oil filter, drain. So, kind of keep things a lot more cleaner. You don't have to worry about piling underneath stuff. You can literally hook up a hose and get it drained right into your. You're always going to get some excess oil, unfortunately, but the idea is to minimize the mess as much as possible. You just don't need the mess when you don't need the mess. Hopefully whoever put this on here is not freaking hammer it down. That's the last thing I want. So you only got to hand tighten them down. You don't have to have them down and freaking hammer them in. That's just stupid. I like to take some of the oil. You just use some of the used oil. I mean, unless there's a bunch of shavings or something that's on there, you just get your O-ring coated now, you know? It's nice, it's warm oil, definitely feel it. So. It varies between, some people say pour oil into your oil filter, fill it up about halfway. You don't necessarily have to do that because the oil is going to pump through the system pretty quick. It's not going to take forever to get up there. So. Clean up that oil mess if there's any mess. I'm trying to keep all the oil pieces off the ground as much as possible. Don't look like I got too much of any dribble in there, but what I'm going to do is grab the shop rag. I'm going to reach in there. It's a little warm. Got warm the engine up before you do this. So you want the engine to be at warming temperature. And just kind of, clean up any mess. And won't let it spill anywhere. It's pretty good. I don't got much anything on there. Just kind of want to pull it out. So what I'm going to do, and I lubricated the O-ring on here. I'll reach my hand in, pull it on. I'm gonna hand tighten it. You don't have to use a tool to tighten it. If you do, you have a chance to over tighten it. So when it expands, it's gonna cause you all kinds of problems when you go to get it out. For the most part, you should never have to do more than just hand tighten it down. If you want to use a tool, you can go to whatever torque specifications that there exist for it. But really, just hand tighten it. Give that old dad twist. Now your other bolts. I highly recommend you go off based off the spec, where the torque spec is. For that, I'll use my torque wrench set. And I'm going to make sure I got the right spec for each of my bolts. After I clean them, change out the O-ring, and put them back up where they go. And then we'll make sure to torque them on to the appropriate levels once I get the O-ring switched out. So this definitely has some framing going on the O-ring, so definitely a replacement factor there. The threads on it look pretty good. So with this one, I won't need to do anything besides just replacing the O-ring. Just slide right on. Just like the filter, I like to put a little bit of coating on the O-ring just to help it. Once it gets seated in there, it'll connect back up.
A couple of bird flies. That's what I have about you. I sound you through a broken window with a different point of view. You had signs of depression from a long line of sin. It was better to tell the story that please if you ain't been out of so. That's all you should know. Then movie while I was floating. As you take my hand by the street and by the crowd. Through your dance.
What I'm going to do is first, after I just replaced it, I'm going to hand thread it back on. So I'm going to hand thread it. What I am going to do is stand it upright with the plugs out still, just to let any additional oil or other material flow out if there is any. I'm still got to take the derby cover off. But for that, I might jack that up just to use the jack and check it out. I haven't had a chance to use that yet. Don't really need it for an oil change, so it's a lot easier to keep everything clean just by doing this. So now that I did that, I'm going to rethread the bolts by hand. So got a little bit coming out of the transfer case. But that oil is pretty darn clean in the primary and the transfer, so I'm just going to go ahead and again, you're not gorilla tightening down your bolts. Music stop. Become a messenger. All right, so now we got all 3 holes drained out. Primary just about. So we're gonna end up removing the derby cover here after I put the bolt back on. Changed out the O-ring on this as well. Made sure it was all clean. There's nothing, no shavings on the magnet. And I'm gonna thread this back on. Only gonna be going down finger tight right now. Then I'm gonna go back through with the torque wrench. Specific torque for each of the plugs. Gonna be specific on them. Make sure we do the correct torque on them. That way they are good to go. Finger tightening only for now. Before I add my fluids, I'll actually get the wrench set and actually do it to the appropriate torque spec. On that note.
Don't you place your head on the door? I don't know much, don't wait on. I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. Cause I say
Here's T27.
Let me see what I see. Something in the orange tells me now.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna remove.
To your testament, to your all I am, where am I supposed to go? Wasn't myself again, something in the orange tells me to get going home. Even if you stay, you can wait all night. There's orange dancing in your eyes from all night. Thoughts on return, moving you start to see. Bring back to what's dancing is when you street. To your testament, to your all I am, where am I supposed to go? Wasn't myself again, something in your ring tells me you're never coming home. To your testament, to your all I am, where am I supposed to go? Wasn't myself again, something.
Put a little bit of pressure on the derby cover as I'm removing this top bolt. Don't want it to just fall right off. Sit down. We're gonna go ahead and flip out the O-ring and clean up any mess that might be there. Add some more. The ring's held up pretty good. So it seems like it's not going to fit, but it fits. Just gotta work it in there. Same thing with all of our gaskets and whatnot. I like to take a little bit of the oil and rub the top. We'll put it back on. I want to have a nice seal. The lubrication helps with the seal. Just around on the gasket. Alright. So, before I go and I start filling, I want to make sure I put in the correct torque on all of them. So, for the primary drain plug, it's going to be 14 to 21 feet-pounds per torque. Then the derby cover bolts are 84 to 108. The transmission plug's 14 to 21 foot. And the transmission be 25 to 75 inches. The transmission for the plug.
Puedes tener 3 cosas por solo 99 centavos. El envío internacional, el enlace para visitar AliExpress. I asked my husband, when did you get so big? His confidence hits different with Brugia Betty. It dissolves under his tongue, works in 15 minutes on average, and can last for up to 36 hours. Brugia Betty is the first ED formula.
Oh, but the comeback, it's as simple as that. It hasn't changed. Like I said before, your jazz, it's the same normal PA. That's what you can. And then you've got a shuffle. That's the only thing. You'll mix. Right, little trick. This may help you do it yourself. These are all to finish to cover, and gradually fluid ounces. That's just a bit more in this casing. A little bit more than the previous twin cam model, but it is what it is. 36 fluid ounces. That's just a bit more than a quart at 32. So we've got a little bottle there. It's got 8 ounces left in it, so that's plenty to do the job. Of oil in this casing. Cloth. And it's casing.
Alright.
Right, the manual calls for 36 fluid ounces of oil in this casing. A little bit more than the previous twin cam model, but it is what it is. 36 fluid ounces. That's just a bit more than a quart at 32. So I've got a little bottle there. It's got 8 ounces left in it, so that's plenty to do the job. What I'm going to do though, because I haven't got a 36 ounce jug, I'm going to put 3 lots of 12 ounce through this to work out that way. Now, what's more important is the concept that it must be 36 ounces is what it's been, but we really know exactly how much of that has come out. 36 ounces is a dry fill. That means if the casing has been off and you dry all the parts of the towel and put it back together, 36 will fill it correct. But there's a residue left in there. It might be half an ounce, who knows. So when you get to 33, 34, start looking at the level, and the level is bottom of the upgrade. But we'll come to that in a minute. Let's get the bottom of it first. Okay, so proof absolute, 32 ounces is all I got in. As you can see now, when I bottled that, I'm now absolutely at level. That's it, it's correct. And it's purely because the amount of oil is left behind. When you try to get out to stick your oil, it's all around the inside, and it means there's a little bit left over. So that's the correct level, and the level is far more important than how much you've got in. It must be the correct level, and it's at the bottom of the clutch plates. There's a diagram to show you precisely where it should be. No higher, no lower. If it's any higher, you can get clutch drag. If it's any lower, then it has yourself an overheat, especially in traffic, because that's part of what the oil is there to do. So there we are, we've got the right oil level, we've got the plug back on, talk about screws at the start button, and we're good.
Alright, so I'm setting this to just about.
Okay, if you're going on your own journey to service it, then get yourself a genuine oil manual. I can't stress that enough. There are many probably that. They're worth their weight in gold. They truly are. The critical information in them, that's all values, it is reliable. On the internet, you get different answers, and it's not always easy to find exactly the concept in it. So you found what you like for your way from the main dealer and spend the money. It's guaranteed. It's also insurance. So once you've got that, you can track on the dealer and service it. Also, apply a bit of common sense. Things like the oil level. The level of the oil in any situation is more important than how much oil you put in, because no one's getting the right amount of oil out. So use that common sense too. But look, knowing your bike, riding up the road, knowing that you've done that yourself, is correct. Great ownership in the bike. Anyway, there we go. If you do this yourself, that's a brief how-to on it. If you like, if you have any questions, drop in the box in a minute. Take it easy, what I say. I'll see you next time. You do the deal. As I heard you think it's ready to go back to take the guesswork out. It's a whole meal about protein, fiber, healthy fat, vitamins, everything your body actually needs. What I like is how easy it is. There's no prep, no thinking. When I don't have to eat extra foods, I can help my body's getting nutrition. Seeing what I feel people is really easy to understand. That's what people are eating low energy, not a lot of hair shedding, other issues that come from not feeling well. That's the part that we're talking about. This helps you stay consistent without skipping a drink. It's easy to drink, it's easy to pull, and I can feel good at it. It's just part of the routine. Work out, feel away to drink, and move on with it. I'm not crashing the day, I'm in the body. If you're at night, it's unpredictable, but you still want to stay consistent, this makes it simple.
You want to see how much you can customize your car insurance.
That's great, but can you ask your friend to stop digging into the green?
I can ask.
Only pay.
Alright. Well, you need that one click of the torque wrench once you get to the torque required spec. For these, you're going to need a little bit more. I'm going to grab my other wrench. They are by inch, not by foot. So the dirty cover bolts are 84 to 108 inches in pounds. So we will switch that up. We always store them at the lowest settings. So I'm adjusting mine. I don't have a fancy electric one. I have to shrink mine down and store at the lowest setting. So I'm setting these to the appropriate level, what I need. I don't have to get a gap for this. Alright. So, got my torch wrench. I'm going to set this to what I'll need it for. Is 85 to 100 pounds per inch. I like to go right in the middle. All right, 95. All right, we'll put mine at 95. That'd be between 100 and 80. So 80 and 100. So now the transfer case, we put in the transfer. So in here, we put the correct fluid. Make sure you always put in the right fluid, in the right hole. A lot of people use 20W40, 20W50, all 3 holes. I like to use primary fluid and primary fluid. That's just me. You do not have to do it. You have to use the gear lube and the gear. You just want it to reach the bottom of the clutch plate. You don't want to overflow. And you'll know if you overflow.
Just like you always do, just like you always do. Already put me in, already in my skin. And I know exactly how this ends. I let you cut me open just to watch me bleed. Gave up who I am for who you wanted me to be. Don't know how to cope, what I won't see. Falling for.
I got it there, and not the greatest idea holding it up right in your hand, but I got the strength I can do it. I'm touching the bottom of the plate, and I'm sitting level now. Alright, so I'll take my derby cover and put it back on in a star pattern. Starting hands tightly first.
I only wanted to be part of something. I only wanted to be part of.
Alright, so
Lately I've been doing them.
I'm just throwing these in right now. I'm not actually torching them down onto the pattern. So I'm just getting kind of in there where I can start to actually torch a little. And tighten down. And once I got them all on here,
there's no man who can reform. It's the man who stays to lose you. Oh, I hope I don't lose you. Please, stay. I want you, I need you, oh God. Go.
now we'll start tightening the star pattern. You only go until you hit the click of the torque.
Please, stay. I find my mind gone, see the same. It's been a while, but I'm finding my thing. If everything's good and it's great, why do I sit and wait till it's gone? Well, today I know I got love. I got peace and I got love. But I'm up and I'm thinking I just might lose you. Oh, please stay. Oh, I need to go down. Go, stay. These people sticking out. It's broken down, but it's just someone to turn around. She won't leave you when you fall down on your knees. She feels me, listen my friends. Got me on long down road there. And she wakes up and climbs in my front seat. She said, don't you ever try.
Alright, we'll draw on.
Are you scared?
Take your rag, clean up a little bit, girl.
Do you want
Get the rest of it cleaned up a little bit.
Are you scared to start? It's ending day, right? Stare at stars. Wrong way you live out cars and bars are sneaking. Cause there's nothing left to see. And if there's wrong, then make it right. And if you believe, skip and one more time, cause there's more. As you find, it's what I need. And she said, don't you wait, try.
Just like the other torque wrench, it's important that when you put it back on and bring it in, you set it to the lowest setting, restart.
Are you scared to start? You don't need a paycheck, don't need a rent. You can't take it all, but it's already spent. We can burn. Let's stay as long as we burn bright. And she said, don't you wait, try it. Are you scared to find it? Do you want to take my broken heart?
So now, you ditch it, fill up the rest of the holes.
Did you take it all so far? Are you scared? Turn my heart open.
For transmission, I like to use 75W140.
Too much. The stars remind me that the past is real. Tear my heart open.
Just to be broken down. Just wanna be alone.